Today I will be creating a pumpkin pattern of Evangeline Lilly. She stars in Lost. She was Elf in Lord of the Rings. This is kind of a series, I guess you could call it. A series of two. I created a pumpkin pattern earlier of Sean Connery. Today I'd like to create a pumpkin pattern that uses some shading, some grays, if you will. Pumpkin patterns are going to have, have two-tone and three-tone, or you can call it two-color and three-color. The three-color patterns are going to have some shading involved in it. One of the key reasons for creating this these few videos is to demonstrate how to use this new tool, and that is Affinity Designer. Part of it actually is to remind me of what I learned, so that several months from now, when I actually begin to start creating pumpkin patterns again, when the pumpkin pattern season hits, this will help remind me what I learned, so I can refresh my memory on things. So with that, I'll go ahead and do my typical duplicate. I'm not going to reiterate things I've covered in past video. But I typically like to do a couple of duplicates so that I can see different levels of posterization, just giving me ideas of what kind of lines to follow. So I'll go ahead and do that and start sketching out my pattern. Trying to make a decision here on just what to capture. This is a bit of a strange shape that I'm not sure just how to capture this. I might have to make some decisions that don't necessarily follow a particular line that we see in this posterized image. I like to capture a little bit of lashes, kind of shape action. It may not necessarily follow exactly where you see there, but to just kind of have a couple of points is feminine. Adds to the eye. Very provocative. Now I'm going to click this on. What that's going to allow me to do is when I start another path, it adds it. Instead of creating separate additional curve layers, it will just make all this one curve layer, which is what I've decided I prefer. I just usually put a dot, capture a highlight in the eye. Her eyes are just captivating, but you're not trying to capture the color. You can't, in a pumpkin pattern. So really what you end up doing is just trying to capture a likeness of this person, so that ultimately when it's done, you can recognize it as, oh yeah, that's Evangelina. You're just not going to be able to nope. The shape of the mouth is an important feature, and so that's why I want to reach out here and capture. And that's why I'm looking at this right here. I want to capture some of the shape of this mouth. Now, in fact, this being a or with the intent to actually turn this into a 3-color pattern, see, right now everything is attached to pumpkin flesh. Of course, I can kind of see that, but it's not maybe as evident without throwing a, oh, oops, started a whole new shape without finishing my last one. And make this background go up a little bit higher because the image, her hairline's going to actually go up above the boundary of this picture, and I can go ahead and outline that as part of my pattern, and just fill in some cutout detail that we actually don't see in the picture. We'll get to that a little bit later, but right now I'm drawing a background that I can fill in with color. So that rectangle is going to be black. Right. Back. Oh, I like that. It didn't hurt the image at all to have that there, did it? I'm thinking. Okay, I'm going to keep that the way it is. File. Let's go ahead and save this, and I'm going to duplicate this curve layer, and then turn turn it off right now because I want to work with this new one and actually experiment with something else for a moment. So let's turn this off and look at this, and break that curve. So, I want to capture the shape of this mouth better. Start this shape over. So at this point, I want to just look at what. So we turn this white background on, and then elf looking ears, right? So I can turn these two curve layers on and off and just look at the difference and see what do I like best. See, I could almost just turn this into a 2-color instead of a 3-color pattern. Of course, in my mind, I'm trying to see where the grays are going to be, but I'm liking the more white. It's I think it's capturing the image better than. I'm not sure I like the nose thing going on here. right, so expanding the nose out like that is a bad idea. We don't like that. It see, this is the value of having some comparative versions going on, because you can kind of look at things and say, oh yeah, that didn't work. I want to actually capture more of this shape of the lips. And so I'm trying to follow more of this lip line here. Okay, I just discovered that I had hit pause on my recording and then went through and created a whole bunch of detail and talked my way through all the beautiful arcs and curves of drawing hair, and just now realized that I didn't record any of that. So what a pain in the butt. Good grief. Now, instead of recreating everything that I just recorded, I'm going to just do a brief synopsis of hair, because I created this whole thing, and now I really am recording now. Darn, I hate when that happens. Okay, so here's the curves that I just created in the hair. I created an extra curve shape, duplicated it to add to that, because sometimes that's just a way to look and compare things. Again, reiterating that the important thing, part of the pattern is the facial features, and the hair really is just it's filler. I've created all these little hair pieces, and I could have chosen maybe a different way, or followed a different path on some of these, and it's still going to be okay. Let me turn this on so we can see what I'm even talking about. It frames the face. The hair just really does add a lot to the pattern, because now it just kind of voila, right? You got more of a person than just face. It adds, right? But again, the important feature is the face itself, and then the hair is just is gravy, you know. It's added. Let me just see if I can give a bit of a explanation of some of the eloquent dialogue I had going on here with myself in thinking that I was recording and talking about how to create hair. So, in an essence, hair with the path tool is it's a beautiful thing, and you want to focus on dropping as few points as you can get away with. For example, if I wanted to create something in here, and I start drawing a lot of points, you know, to try and capture hair, well, it just starts getting, well, it doesn't flow very smooth. This isn't an optimal way to try and create flowing, smooth curves. For example, if I start dropping a curve here, right? I'm just doing 2 points, and voila. Then by grabbing these, okay, handles, I'm going to call these handles. Maybe that's really is the name of these things. These are nodes, these are handles. And by shaping these handles, I can really get some beautiful curvy shape stuff going on. You know, if I want to make that look more like an S, then I can just basically, by manipulating two points, you know, you can get a nice curve shape with just 2 points. I mean, if that makes any sense, let the Bezier tool create the flow rather than trying to create a flow. And if I were going to try and do that same shape here with several curves, then it can start looking choppy. It's just not as smooth, right? It's easier to, well, I should say, as a general rule, you're better off trying to limit the number of nodes that you drop down in there. Hair, I don't try to follow specifically exactly what I'm seeing. I'm not going to try, now if I were an artist and trying to draw this with a pencil, yeah, you want to draw every strand of hair. That's good art. But in a pumpkin pattern, you're not going to carve it. It's just unrealistic. And plus, what I'm trying to do actually is simplify this, not make it more complicated. Some people really like complicated patterns, and you can get some beautiful work in a very detailed pumpkin. But as a pattern creator, again, as I mentioned in earlier videos, is to try and keep things simple and treat the carver as gently as I can, and capture a likeness without with this as simple as shapes as I possibly can. So having said that, hair, you know, is just a matter of again, it comes with experience, but just in this case, flowing lines and just trying to see an essence of the flow without having to try and carve every strand of hair in detail. You'll notice right in here in this dark area is, well, you can't see it, but I might want to add a little bit more detail here. Now, if it was an important feature, this hair isn't. In fact, if I really wanted to add something in here, I think I might want to add another strand of hair or two. But if I really wanted to see a feature, then what you can do is you take the photograph. So let's come back down and duplicate a layer, which I did here. And I'm trying to see if what I want to do to it exists as what do I want to do this? I want to, oh look, curves. There you go. If you can apply a curve and just lighten it, then you're going to just see. Right, now the face is all washed out, but in this case, if I'm looking for that dark area down in there to see it, well, now I've just showed up some detail here that you didn't see before. So I really didn't need to create that whole new layer and lighten it to capture these pieces of hair, but that's just an example of being able to just add another layer, do something with it to see something if you're trying to capture some level of detail. And I think that's all I need. Let's look at it. To give the essence of a tank top and some shoulders. This looks a little distant here for the tank top. What are we looking at on that? 2 layers or something. So I'm going to just extend this down, because in the pattern we're not noticing that she has a strap underneath the strap. It's just more, let's see, we want, I think I can, yeah, okay, yeah, there's a shadow going across here. Right, so with that, we've got Evangeline, but what this is going to be a 3-tone pattern, and all we have right now is just blacks and whites. Well, this eye is almost quite a floater sitting there. It's dangling. These features right in here, as far as the structure of pumpkin goes, we're pretty good right in through here. This place right here, if that's part of a pumpkin, that's a lot of stuff to just kind of hang out there. You know, if it's nice and freshly carved, it might be good for a bit, but it's not going to take long for that to wilt, and it's going to droop and it's going to look funky. So we want to give some structure for some of this stuff to hang on, which means I need to add some grays, some sculpting area to that. So with that, I'm kind of done with these other curves, right? I don't need that. I think I can delete that one. And I can delete this one. But we want to take this and duplicate this. Because now, this is going to become, and I'll just name it even. Okay, this is my gray. This is my grays. And in the gray, or the sculpting version of this, we're not going to have the whites, right? So these on my gray curve, we will not have the highlights of the eyes. These are all white. This stuff is white. So we're gonna delete that. We don't need that. In this curve layer, in this path shape, if you will, all we're going to show are grays, the sculpted area. And our key focus right now is going to be right in through here. Well, this is all highlight, and this is highlight. But, so I'm wondering if I'd like to connect this here, which maybe I can still do. See, when I'm creating the sculpted, or the grays, I like to call it, once I have captured the likeness, all right? Once I've kind of nailed it with this likeness, you know, there it is. We've got her face. It looks like her. I like what I see. Now all I'm doing, it's kind of like adding the hair detail. It adds it frames the face and everything nicely, but it's not the most important part of the pattern. The most important part of the pattern has been captured, because I feel like I've captured her likeness here. So the grays accentuate things as far as the, what do I want to say? As far as adding an element of better detail that helps frame things and accentuate things, but for the most part, I've actually captured the likeness like I want it. So, so the grays are, we just need to look and see how. I guess the best thing to do is just go for it and start looking at what we want to do. So I will eliminate what's going to be white, but so most of this hair, in fact. So I messed up on that because I was thinking not clearly, and messed up what I did. So I've relabeled the white layer white, and I'm going to duplicate this. And this is going to become what I could label as gray, right? But in this gray one, like I started to explain before I messed something up and now had to backtrack, is it's not going to be gray. We're going to break this apart. So I'm going to take this gray and divide it. And what that does is it's put all these things in their own separate curves. See that each of these things is its own shape, right? In the gray layer that I'm creating, only now that it's multiple layers, all we want is going to be gray. So anything that's going to be white, I'm going to eliminate. It's not going to be part of that gray layer path. So I can delete all these things, these hair pieces. If that hair is not something, if that's going to be white, I don't need it. I'm nuking it. That little highlight right there, that's going to be white. So I'm going to delete. Whoops. How come it doesn't? I'm going to delete that. What is that? The highlights of the eyes. See those? And these whites of the eyes, all that stuff. Delete them. The little cute elf ears, those are going to be white. There's some more hair features. Delete those. The highlight in the lip, gone. Now, this shape is going to include some grays, right? So I'm not going to delete that right now. I'm not going to delete this facial feature right here. These hair pieces. So I'm just coming through here and looking at what is and deleting everything that's going to remain white. Okay, now I'm going to include some gray on the shoulders here. So in fact, let's look at this, right? I want to capture part of this gray in here, right? Okay, we're working with just this one. Okay, so what I want to do is, let's zoom out here. I've eliminated all the things that I know are pure white because it's not going to be part of this gray layer curve object that I'm trying to create. All I've got now are these curve objects here, which are going to include some of the gray or sculpting, right? I've highlighted them all, and I want to actually apply, for the moment, a stroke, right? Point something. It doesn't need to be very big, but I want, let's see, I think I have to have, now they're not showing, but if I show them, but we don't want them filled either. I just want to see this outline. So I'm going to take the fill and tell it to be no fill, right? I did that right? Okay, so what I should see is if I turn I should see an outline. There we go. This is what we're looking at. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Now that I can see this, let's just zoom into the shoulder here, right? This is going to be a gray. I want to capture that gray. It's not super important for the structuralness of the pumpkin, but this is just artisticness of the gray area. We want to show some of this. So I'm going to start drawing with this add new curve turned off because I want its own separate curve right now at the moment, and I'm going to circle this around that shape. And now where is that? There it is. Okay, so this one, we're going to highlight those two and subtract them. And it subtracted the wrong thing, so I'm going to undo that and intersect? Yes, that's what I want. That's what's going to remain gray. So now with this neck area, I'm going to make that kind of, some of that's going to be gray. And or I could look at a different posterizer. So let's drag this down so that's behind these curves. It's the white curve. What's this? That's the shoulder. Here's the neck. What I want to see. So keep in mind, I'm exploring and learning here myself, and that's why I'm figuring stuff out. So it's like, learn along with me, because I'm trying to figure out how to do this in a different way than I've done things before. So what we're looking at here is two different versions with the posterized levels, right, of what could be the gray that I'm looking to maybe just draw in there. And I think I'll just go with this, because this isn't really a critical area. And notice that the nodes all turned off because I don't have the add new to curve. It's not adding this to the same curve thing anymore. And we just want to kind of give a nice smooth feel to this. Alright, there, I just drew a curve. Here's these two curves. And I believe it's an intersect we want. We want the intersection of these two things. And that would be that thing, and that creates that curve, right? There we go. That's going to be a gray area. And in this other shoulder, it's really just kind of like that. Alright, so where's my two things that we're working with here? Those two intersect. Voila. A couple of things. I'm going to duplicate this curve. because we're going to mess with this in a couple of ways. It might be a couple of steps. You know, I could, so I know what I'm talking about, call this the face. And this one is also face too. Then I know that what curves, right? What's this? This is going to be the cheek. And these other ones are done. Alright, so on this face one, there's a highlight here. Remember that this is a highlight. If you remember right here, this was a highlight. I deleted it. Well, likewise, right here above the eye, I want that to be a highlight too. But this is gray. See, remember this feature is, and if we look at the white again, with the rectangle background, this feature is kind of a dangling here. The only thing attaching it to the pumpkin is right here, and that's just too thin of a piece to trust that that's going to not completely droop, right? So we need some more structuralness, and that's what the gray is going to add. It's not just artisticness that's going to make the pattern look prettier. It has structural importance as well. And so that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to do here. We turn back off this white because we want to see, and I like these two different posterization levels, but on this one we kind of see some stuff going on that we're going to capture in our gray. So I want to with the, I'm going to start drawing a new curve, and it's going to come down here and flow down, and see right here you've got a little bit of, and these posterization levels really aren't showing too much for me, but I don't know if you can see any of that, but it doesn't matter. There's kind of a so what I'm doing here is this is forming a gray, but it's giving me some, well, you'll see it better when we actually take these two things and do our little magical intersect move, right? This is the gray. In fact, for all these things that are gray, well, I won't gray them out right now, but that's, you'll see it better. It's going to give us something to attach this pumpkin to. And I want to go up here too, so where's my other face? Right? Well, it's now become a face, but that's a face gray is what that is. Then we want to hide that for a moment. I'm going to duplicate this again because I'm not sure. Whoops, what am I looking at here? Where my next gray is going to be. We're going to go ahead and Let's see face. Select these two and intersect that again. Guess. All right. It normally doesn't really look too good to try and connect eyes right through here. But structurally you kind of want to, for reasons of having this feature not be a dangling thing out there. So I want to attach this as gray through here. Structure-wise. Artistic-wise, I think I want to leave it white. See, so I'm going to have to sacrifice some, but I just added this gray and the eye, so that's going to give it some more structure to attach to give it more meat of the pumpkin for this feature to hang on, right? So that might be enough to call it good. So then it's a balance. It's a balance between, do I want to, and I'm seeing this in my mind's eye while I'm talking about something that a viewer of this video is probably going to be completely lost to, because what are you talking about? I'm looking at a posterized image and I cannot see what you're saying. So I apologize. Maybe this will become more evident after I finish this gray area and you can see what I'm talking about, but I'll try and demonstrate that a little bit in a minute. I'm just trying to talk through some of what I'm thinking as I'm going along, but I think I'll shut up and just draw and then explain some things later after I've placed some of this gray stuff that I'm trying to create here. I'm labeling that gray eye connect. This is an option of the gray where the eyes are going to connect. I want to create another option where they don't. I'll duplicate the face again. Oh. For want of a better, I don't know, gray eye split. I'm calling it something because one is connected and the other one isn't. Alright, so we have this face. Again, I'm going to duplicate this. Keep duplicating. Because here, yep. This feature is just going to be dangling. So I kind of want to connect it through to something that, yeah. Now, I think I'm done with the face, but I'm going to duplicate it one more time just because I may want to play with something else with that in the future, and I just want to keep that shape. So, this last piece I want to do is just really an intersection right there. Alright, finally, last but not least, is this cheek. Alright, this cheek, it's going to have some grays. We can look at, whoops, that's wrong. Duplicate the cheek again, just in case I don't like what this looks like. This face and this cheek are together. The rest of these, these two are. The rest of these, this. So we can take all of these, add them, and name that the gray. This is the gray. And being the gray, like it is, I'm going to color it gray. So we want to turn the outline off and come back into the fill and fill it with like 40 or 35. Let's go 35. Okay. I'm seeing all this as I'm drawing it, but I know that the user, or the viewer of this video, is not going to be seeing this like I'm seeing it. So now it's easier to explain what it is I was trying to achieve while I'm sitting there drawing all this. This gray and this gray are holding this eye together. I wanted to keep this white, but you know what I want now? I want less white right there. That's too much. I want to give more gray for structuralness. I was thinking I wanted to close this. I like the look of this white through here. See, it just starts making this really difficult to carve when you got all this stuff going on. But it makes a pretty pattern, and it's making it more structural. So that's it for the grays. Right now I'm going to just experiment with a couple of other things, but here's what gets me with this. Okay, so I've got that gray, right, and this white. These two are working together. I have to take the grays that I want to preserve from this. Yeah, and let me duplicate this. Let me duplicate that gray. And then divide it. This is going to modify some of these grays. The shoulders look good. I'm not going to change anything in the shoulders, so I'm going to delete those. Oh, I actually wanted to keep those. This thing. Okay, so we can take these curves. Add them. Take this. Duplicate this. And divide the duplicated one so that I can remove. I don't need. Oh, good grief! This just seems cumbersome to me. Really, the way I used to do this in Photoshop for this kind of stuff was much easier. Okay, because what I want is the shoulder and neck. There. Added. That's my gray 2. Gray 2. We want to move the stroke and apply the gray. Alright. Okay, so here's the 2 levels of gray that I've created. And you can see the difference. One that's got the eyes connected, and I think it looks prettier to not have the gray connect the eyes, but it's actually not bad, so I can leave it. I think I'll leave it. Structurally, I like it. Yep, that's that is what I want to keep. So there's the grays. Hopefully this was helpful to somebody somewhere. If not, it's helpful for me because I now have a reference of how it is I've done things with this new program, because moving forward in the future I don't intend to go back to paying a subscription for the rest of my life. That just is starting to get crazy. I mean, it's I use Photoshop and some of those tools for more than just creating pumpkin patterns, but still, this is going to be a much better way to do what I'm trying to do with things. So I like it. It looks good. We're going to keep it and make it into a pattern. So we'll save it as it is. Now, real quick, like, we want to do a new from the template, create, and in this template that I have here, I want to grab the white, what is it, the gray 2 that I like. So I want to grab these 2, okay? Copy them, come into my template, and paste them. And with the move tool selected and both of these paths now on my artboard, I can shift to constrain this and shrink it down a little bit, bring it over here and move it within this area just for a moment. And with both of them highlighted, copy and paste and drag this up here and shrink it down to constrain it with the shift key again, because that is going to form this little corner image. So you can tell doing the gray, a pattern with shading, just it requires more thought and looking at things in a different way. All right, there's my corner image. This with the text tool active, I'd like to say this is clearly an advanced pattern. In the last one with Sean Connery, I deleted this because it didn't have any gray areas. Well, with this one, we're going to leave that text down there because it belongs. This title now needs to say Lilly. I'll just select this tool, and with both of these highlighted, we stretch this to fit the borders and then shift things around. All right, this is the white, which in my pattern, everything that is gray now is going to be cut through. So I'm going to turn that to a 40% gray. And we're going to take this. Now this gets, oh, you know what, first I also need to come into this, bring the stroke forward, make it 1 point. Alright, so now my pattern is stroked. But you'll notice that this is now going to become a hatched area. But before I hatch it, well, I could do it after I hatch it too. But because of the see, it's encroaching on the line, right? I want to offset this half the width of that line so that it's inside this, so that you can see the stroke, the outline that I created for my pattern, where you're going to follow your lines, right? So to do that, I want to align this stroke to the inside and do like a 0.8. And then I want to do a layer, expand stroke. Where is that? There it is. Expand stroke. I've assigned a letter E to this because I'll be doing it a lot. But that's what I'm doing. I'm expanding this stroke. That actually separates the stroke to its own curved path. Now I want to select both the newly created curve path and the gray path and subtract. Now you'll notice, if we zoom in, I can see my line. It's basically had the effect of offsetting that path. Now I need to make this, or excuse me, yeah, this gray gridded like this. I think we can take this down here, and I'm going to copy this. Control C is what I did. Then with this selected, Shift Control V, which is basically edit paste style. Edit, let me go up here and show you. Edit paste the style. But you'll notice that it pastes it very large. And then I start having to do things to shrink it. Okay, that's what I did. Here I am looking to see what it was I did to fix this. So, zoom back out a little bit. This little icon with the gradient tool, fill tool selected, if I click inside there and drag, then it starts letting me change the size of this grid. All right. Now I'm zooming in and it's just too tiny for me to manipulate very well. But basically I'm guessing, right? I'm guessing to the size to try and match it to this grid that's down here so that it's consistent. This is the, and you'll notice that this grid, if you zoom into it, is, well, it isn't pixelated, but I can also come in here and if I hit the shift key it'll constrain it straight, horizontal and vertical instead of trying to. So that's one way to mess with this. See, now it's really small. But you get the point that it's a little bit kind of, and it's kind of tricky, and it may or may not always match, and it just wasn't the best way for me to do this. All right. So instead, we've got this. I'm going to come back to select this, highlight this pattern, and then we'll just, for the moment, highlight, color it with a swatch, right? Color it with a darker color or something, just so you can see what I'm doing. I've created, if you scroll down here, here is this hatch, and it's hidden. If I show this hatch, you'll see that I have a hatch pattern that covers the whole sheet. This is a gridded vector pattern that I've created to just fill this whole area. All right. If I drag that as a clipping, what we call a clipping path, right underneath this gray. Wrong gray. It clipped the little thing. I want this other gray. Then this gray is now clipped with that hatch to match precisely a vector version of that whole thing, so it works. That's the easiest way I've decided to run that whole hatch pattern. But I wanted to just illustrate that there is another way of using the fill tool to, if you wanted to on your own, do it a different way. That's how I'm choosing to do it on mine, for consistency and a better professional look. So that concludes this tutorial that I created really mostly for myself, so that I can remember how I've learned to use this new Affinity Designer tool to create patterns that I used to be creating in different tools, because I'm trying to not pay so much money in subscription fees. And I like it. I like how this turned out. The only thing left to do now is to save that as a PDF and share it on my website. There we go. Evangeline Lilly. Thanks for watching.